What's up, fam? So, the biggest shock that I have to the account executive role that I'm in in the tech sales space, I would have to say it is navigating the complexity of progression. Now, yeah, that probably sounds confusing. Um, Basically, it's complex to move the needle forward from a career and a role development standpoint, and how to navigate that complexity would be the biggest shock that I've experienced. Now, I'm going to unpack that, and I'm also going to tell you what I believe is the biggest reward of the role that I feel like I've experienced so far. But unpacking that statement that I made, you know, let's start here. One thing that you have to understand in the account executive role, with the level of depth, would be product, right? So, like what you're actually selling. And depending on what you're selling, in terms of like if you're selling software, for example, that software could have a combination of anywhere from 2 to 15, 20 different combinations of solutions, right? Combined with professional services along with that software. And so, like, you know, that's learning. That is being able to really buckle down and buckle in and begin to immerse yourself into just understanding the product offerings. And then from there, we move into understanding industry, right? And it's, I'm not moving in a certain set order, but understanding the industries that you sell into, right? You know, you could provide a service where, or offer a service where you're selling into one or two industries primarily, or you could be selling into several different industries, right? From whether it's healthcare, whether it's transportation, construction, it could be a number of things, right? And so beginning to understand and have some type of context to, you know, what causes these industries to tick in terms of the solutions that you're providing, and how to actually apply the different combinations to those different use cases, right? That it's a complexity to applying the time, the efforts, and even really the know-how to begin to understand how to adequately immerse yourself into the learning experience, right? To really comprehend these things. And we haven't even gotten into actually learning selling, right? So learning how to sell and learning how to sell better and better and better. That within itself is it has a complexity to it, right? Um, Understanding, you know, all the way from the psychology, basic psychology, so to speak, of human nature when it comes to interacting with a human being, whether it be how to interact in person and how to interact over a Zoom, you know, and then from methodologies, you know, what methodologies are best? How do you control and understand the flow of a conversation and a dialogue, from the way that you open the conversation to all of the things that happen in between, to how you wrap up and how you understand the next steps of where to land. And depending on what you're selling, how to understand that selling method over a period of sometimes several meetings, right? With the same prospects. Um, there's a complexity to learning that, right? Um, and then it's how to maximize the resources that you have. Resources like people within your company, different other professionals, whether they be product specialists, solutions engineers, people who are in marketing, you know, other, you know, sales colleagues, how to leverage those relationships, extract the type of knowledge and intel and information that you need from your colleagues, and apply that to your role, and just how to work with them, because a lot of selling is collaboration. Especially, I don't know if I would say especially, but in my sector, I can speak on, business to business selling. And so, the complexity of navigating progression, right? There is a complexity there, very doable. I just like talking about some of this stuff to try to give you some type of context to peer in, just speaking from my own experience. But that's probably the biggest shock. Not that I can't say that I thought it was going to be easy, so to speak. It's definitely more challenging to navigate than I thought of, but it becomes really challenging at times, and not in a bad way. It just takes buckling down, applying yourself, being innovative and creative, being patient, being diligent, having grit, and going through certain strategies of how to learn better, how to learn more efficiently, right? And then, just touching on what I would say is the biggest reward that I've experienced. I would say, coming from where I come from working a lot of odd jobs, working overnight, working in a warehouse, doing chauffeuring, just doing so many different jobs, that the biggest reward I would say for me is what it has afforded me from a scheduling standpoint. Like, it's really cool to be able to not work on weekends, at least not be mandatory. I mean, I work on weekends because I choose to just apply myself to certain efforts and endeavors. But to be able to work what would be considered a typical 9 to 5, right? Work during the day, off in the evenings, off on the weekends. In my case, I work remote, so not needing to commute to a job, being able to, steward my schedule in a way where if I have to step away from work, it's not as difficult to do that, right? The culture that I work in, being able to have, generous leave away from work, like, that's cool. What I've experienced so far, I would say that would be the biggest reward for me in the role, is the scheduling that it affords, and then from there, it gets into other things, like the opportunity to, really have a upward return on investment, income wise, the more you can perform, because you're not like a typical, or I would say you're not hourly waged, right? In a lot of cases, it's commission that's involved with that, So appreciate y'all for dropping in the video. Let me know if you got any questions. Drop anything in the comments if you want to talk about it, as well as it may be a Zoom link in the description if you want to link up. Peace.